Good morning, everybody. Okay, it's a Saturday morning here in Melbourne, Australia, and I woke up to beautiful rain, an overcast day, which is great for filming because like you have a really nice consistent filter to control the lighting. Those of you who are into photography or video will understand. I remember I was lamenting the loss of my broken glasses the other day, one of my favorite pairs, because it had a nice matte finish, and now it's toast. So I had to order another couple of pairs now because I was down to one. I don't treat my glasses very well. I'm not sure which ones I like. Do I like these? You guys can let me know. I just got a few of them. They weren't that expensive. Or these. These are squarer. Although I'm not sure if I like these. These look a bit, yeah. So I think just these are fine. Anyway, hope everyone's well. Let me know if you can hear me properly and see me. It looks good on my end. Okay. Real name's not given. He said he can hear me. It's fine. All right. Cool. Let me just break out the pop out the chat just so I can see more of your comments. Hope everyone's doing well. Most of you guys, I'm assuming, are from the States, and it's a Friday night where you are. All right. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, make sure you add some emojis to your comment in the chat stream over there, just so I can see them easier. Black Magic asks me, when are you going to grow your beard back? Maybe in winter. The summer's actually a pain. The summer's actually a pain to have a beard. I mean, beard purists will say, nah, beards are great every time, but I sleep on my stomach and on my face, and it itches and everything. So if I slept on my back, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's really to do with how I sleep, and it just gets a bit muggy and itchy because I don't I don't have the hairs on my beard. I have to kind of tame them, otherwise they kind of curl in and they pinch and tickle my skin. Some people are blessed with having soft kind of hair that grows out. Mine curls in on itself. All right, guys, today's video is on the topic related to the last couple of videos, and a couple that I've actually done in the past where I've talked about, let me just see, videos about what kind of, especially women, and the reason why, like I mentioned in my previous video, why I talk about relationships and women so much. I think that everything we do in life is a relationship. You can have a relationship with your hobbies, your pastimes, your passions, and your things like that. And they don't take away too much because you can take them or leave them. You're not possessive over them. They're always there to come back to. You spend a little time with your friends, you go away. Family is a bit more intense. You've heard of people who have problems with their families. But an intimate, romantic style, typical relationship that a lot of guys have problems with. I think if you can settle and work those things out, everything in life will be easier, the relationships you have with everything else, because that's the most intense, big, sort of most meaningful one in terms of time, energy, effort, money, expenditure. Basically, you wrap your whole life around it, and it connects to everything, and you tend to think and adjust your life in accordance with it. A lot of guys check in with their wives or girlfriends all the time. Yeah, now the sun's come out again. This is Melbourne weather for you. Raining 1 minute, cloudy, and then the next minute, bright sunshine. I'm not kidding you. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, that's why people kind of say, why are you always talking about women? I'm talking about relationships. It's not so much women. I don't know about you. I don't think women care about men. We know that. Most women don't. Guys don't care about women. It's this relationship we have with one another. And the bond and the way guys think and connect with relationships is much, much different than the way women do. You can see it by the small amount of time it takes for a woman to move on compared to a man. I'm talking about real heartbreak. So that real relationships and how you can think, how you can stand up for your morals, values, how you can speak your mind. When you can actually do that a lot better and honestly and bite the bullet, I think everything else will be easier, because it's the most challenging. And for a lot of guys, they can't say a simple no to a woman. They have to be agreeable all the time. If you can not be agreeable, if you can stand up for yourself in a romantic relationships, I think everything else is cake. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. Thanks, Neville, for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says, all the happy women are married already. I've heard this as well. All the good ones are taken. I've also heard that that presupposes also that married men and women are great and are, if only I had them. But yeah, the small amount of good people perhaps are married, but don't confuse that with, well, all the married people married up with great people. That's not the case either. The vast majority of people are tolerating awful lives too. And this is the thing, people don't choose good people. When you're young, this is the quandary, really. Biology just wants you together, popping out to make babies. Popping out babies, and it doesn't care what happens afterwards. You do your bit and then throws you in the scrap heap, figuratively speaking. Some people are lucky enough to get with decent people, and also the younger you get together, I think the luck that happens also is that you're naive enough to get used to each other and accommodate each other in the same way that, say, family members, you get used to each other, or high school friends or lifelong friends that you met when you were in school, when you were young and naive, and you were accepting of each other and you got used to each other. Now, if you meet them, think about this. How many friends these days that you've had all your life would you actually be friends with now if you just met them as an adult? There wouldn't be very, very many, because you're very much a specific person, but you know them inside and out. And you've gotten used to them. So I think that's the benefit of actually getting together younger, in your late teens, early 20s. And if you want to have a family and kids, you're naive enough to accommodate each other, and then you're used to each other. Whereas later, I know for myself, it's really, really hard to find people that are particularly like me. You tend to only make new friends or have a new relationship with someone who's very, very specifically like you. You know, without being a carbon copy mirror, they damn well have to be as close as possible. And I'm talking about things like when you know yourself. I know that I need a lot of time for my artistic pursuits, my routines, my when I decide to sort of go for a jog. There's all these routines that if I meet a woman, I'm not going to stop any of that. I'm not going to... This isn't a holding pattern for me until I find a unicorn. This is my life and I enjoy it. And so the only chance I've got is to find, a unicorn on steroids that does all the routines and likes and understands all the things that I do. And that's extremely, extremely rare. So you're better off just being realistic. So yeah, I think when you're younger, it's better because you're naive and you don't know each other much, and you can grow together and get used to each other. It's also a good probably for your character. But as you get older, if you're a loner, you're more specific. All right, guys, remember, if you want to ask questions, put some emojis next to your questions. Ha! Those back pages said my square glasses remind them of Moby. All right, I won't wear them then. They're too square. I don't know if these are a little bit small. Maybe I'm just used to the other ones. I'm not sure. I don't mind them. I don't like that they're shiny. I can't find a matte pair. I need to keep my eye out for a matte pair, like the ones I broke. Daniel H says, how can you love what's constantly miserable? This is the thing. Sometimes I mentioned that the quiet types you think are good because they're not loud and obnoxious and they don't give you headaches, but they might be actually suppressing parts of their behavior that is sadness. Yeah, it's not kind of loud and they're not a embarrassing show pony. But if they kind of throw a wet blanket over your entire life, they never communicate. They're always upset. They never want to go anywhere. They're always crying. They're just completely stochastic, that it's wholly unpredictable living with them. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about very much, is the very unhappy person, even the clinically so. Don't excuse it. They can ruin your life. I've had one particular relationship years ago where she was like that, and I thought, and she was fairly intelligent, quiet, meek, but when she relaxed after a year or so, it was kind of like I saw she was a very, very sad person, and my life with her was very sad. And it's awful feeling sad and lonely when you're with someone that you really care about. Starts to resemble pity, not love. You don't want that. Boots Void says, aren't all women unhappy to some extent? Yeah, because they're the passive sex, or the other half of our species. They're always wanting something. They kind of don't go out and do and get things, or hunt, if you want to use the figurative example. It's men that do that. So if there's a problem, we go out and fix it. We go out and get it. We go out and hunt it. We go out and do whatever. With women, they wait. They're good at psychological manipulation. You look at them in high school with their friends, the amount of backstabbing and fighting and talking behind each other's backs. It's much more common to hear a woman say, I don't get along with women. I never had female friends. I don't like their backstabbing nature and all that kind of stuff, their manipulation, and you can't trust them. I always hung around guys, or I find guys' company easier and more simple. You don't really hear it with guys. You don't hear guys saying, like, I don't like the company of men. I can't stand the logic and quiet and peace and rational stillness of a guy's life. I much prefer the roller coaster of women. It's much more exciting. Guys won't say that generally. They'll say that they prefer the excitement of women in the sack or for short periods of time. But overall, it's I think it's more common you hear women talking about how they prefer the company of men, not women, because women are catty. QSTY says, if you're a guy with long-term mild depression, does that make you unsuitable for a relationship? I'm not sure, man. If it's clinically diagnosed, I don't want to be an expert, but my speculation is, I think because guys are more rational, they'll look for ways to ameliorate it, whether it's through therapy or when they're interacting with someone. They're aware of their condition more, whereas women don't tend to be, from my observation. They make up stories in their heads and they believe it in real life. So if you've got clinically diagnosed sadness, which is that D word, then I think it's much more likely that a woman may delude herself and others around her, thus making the life with other people hell. Whereas a guy, I think, more rationally will go, well, I've got this. What can I do? How can I better myself? It's much more in line with a guy to reflex towards how can I pick myself up because no one else will. I think that with a guy, there's much more the immediate reflex when he's been pushed to his limits to say, okay, enough of this, no one's coming to save me. Whereas with a woman, she doesn't have that reflex. There's always someone coming to save her. Society, other men, media, fantasy stories. Again, not all women, but I'm just saying in general, the middle of the bell curve. The middle of the bell curve. Pure Male says, where do you draw the line with unhappy women? I know my line, but curious with yours. When they start making my life stressful, when I start feeling that twinge of nervousness, propensity to walk on eggshells simply because I start feeling pity for her or because I start caring. Because when you meet someone, if they're just kind of loud or they're just completely unhappy, you don't spend time anyway with them. Your instincts are so obvious. You can see that bad personality from, orbit. So if someone's really down and always unhappy, there's nothing attractive about them. I'm talking about these people that seem upbeat. If you date them initially, the first few dates, you're getting to know them. And then later on, under the surface, once you start to get to know them, you realize they're deeply unhappy people. But on the surface, you think that, oh, she's quiet. She's an introvert. Oh, great. I can get along with her finally. My line is probably... everything's a no. Everything's negative. Whenever there's a question or whenever there's a discussion, it's always pessimism. It's always being oppositional. You say left, she says right. And also trust your instincts, especially when they're obvious. And someone who's deeply unhappy, it's fairly obvious. I hope that answered the question. Explore Eccentric says, loved your baseline thoughts. Those of us in recovery from entanglement with an unhappy woman should remember that we're on our way back to baseline 2, but the direction is up, not down. That's right. A deeply unhappy person will drag you down to their level or do their best because the momentary lifting them up to you was exciting and fun, but if they don't feel comfortable there, it's not home to them. I use the analogy of what's home and what's a holiday. I'm very, very aware of what home feels like to me because I live much more of an introverted life. So not very fixed, but my routines, my lifestyle does not deviate very much. I have my family, my friends. Big majority is the time I spend on things like my hobbies, writing, videos, photography, just a lot of creative stuff, and a very small group of friends that I catch up with regularly or semi-regularly, and I'm really sweet with that. And anyone new coming in, I think my antenna is very good at picking up disruptions. When they start sort of adding negativity to that it's fairly obvious to me. Okay, now it's the same again. It's a massive grey sky and it's starting to rain. This is how unpredictable this weather is. So yeah, remember, as Explore Eccentric said, a deeply unhappy person will drag you down to their level. But remember that when you're no longer with them, you start, the tide starts rising and normalizing you back to your normal state, which is higher than that, which in my case is like contentment. I just love living a content life. You could call it happy, but I love something about the word happy that society kind of puts a lot of pressure in. You got to stay happy. I'd rather stay content. That's a lot easier to cognitively manage, and a lot of happiness comes through there. Happiness just unpredictably weaves itself through my life. But if you're always trying to stay game show ecstatic and happy, I think that's really hard to sort of maintain. It's like trying to sprint all the time, trying to stay on a high. NVO Mund, he says, fewer excuses, more beard growing. Apparently people want me to grow a beard again. Power to truth. We call out women's BS a lot. Time to evolve and call out our own BS. True. Very true. That's why, look, I try in my videos to identify the problem that a lot of guys have had or experiences. You had problems with your relationships. And the obvious one is when the other person treats you really unfairly and badly and doesn't try and understand you, and you're trying to communicate, especially a person that is supposed to have loved you or understood you. But also to reflect on that, what aren't you going to do again? What are your boundaries now? What are your standards now moving forward? Can you communicate better? It's all about you guys. No one's coming to save you. Everything's about you. It's all your fault from now on, okay? You can point to things that people that treated you badly in the past, but if you constantly, always naively go into situations and open yourself up to naively get taken advantage of, I'm saying you've got to trust sometimes, but I think largely my channel is to get guys to think better and to make better decisions, to develop their own ethics better. So there's less and less chance going forward that you're going to repeat the same mistakes over and over again, which is a better and better life. But yeah, completely true. Time to evolve and call out your own BS and act, speak, and think better moving forward in whatever you do. Any relationship you have, with the time you give to your things in your life, your hobbies, your pastimes, to sleep, to health, and yes, to relationships, platonic or romantic. Venom Eagle says, the concept of a woman moving from the responsibility of life with a man as a housewife to think that freedom is becoming a career woman for tech corporate man, does this make them happy? No. I think initially when they're young, they're naive, like a guy's naive when he's young too. But from a woman, her greatest Achilles heel, I think, is material. I think Dave Chappelle said that a woman's test is material, a man's test is a woman. Through her naivety, she sees the environment say, hey, you can earn your own money, shop to your heart's content, and spend it shopping all week, every week, and no one can tell you to stop. You can have this life whenever possible. And then later on, you can have the guy too, whenever you feel like it. So it's this kind of egotistical, rich kid personality that has no empathy or sympathy. I've got to stop saying so often. So they think that, this is the funny thing, they observe where they think men are happy, where men have power. It's about the only thing we have power in. We enjoy engaging with the world. So we go out there, we work, we create things, we make money, we exchange through money. But it's not so we can buy a million fancy things like women want to do. Our impulse is that we get a lot out of doing things in the world, and the result is money. For women, they just want money. The target is money. They don't care what they do. That's why you notice they go into professions where they pretty much don't have to do anything. The environment resembles their home. So they go to an office. Think about it. They can dress in different outfits every day. They go to socialize in an office. They get out of the house all the time. So social and material is taken care of, and they get paid at the end of the day. And they take jobs that are sort of menial, office cubicle jobs where you're a drone, you just repeat tasks like a monkey. I've been there. I've done those jobs. They're not very rewarding. And they don't require a lot of effort. We might joke about it, but they're not taking jobs in oil rigs, or they're not overwhelmingly, taking STEM field jobs in science, and they're not being inventors pushing society forward. They just want money so they can shop. They want to buy stuff. That's it. The vast majority of women. Men like doing things. They want to earn money, but they like the doing. Some guys find the financial markets interesting, but the doing, the systems analyst perspective, the mathematical side interests guys. And then being able to make money from that, then you can buy the car to get the woman. That interests guys. But guys love the thing. And women don't understand that. So a lot of them, they kind of go, oh, look at the free life guys have got, earning money, doing what they want, buying cars or whatever. I want to be free to buy stuff too, but it's not the perspective or the drive from which guys are motivated at all. And you can't tell a woman otherwise, because that's where her greatest challenge and test in life is material. That's not a man's greatest test in life. A man's greatest test in life is a woman, which again is why I talk about women and relationships in regard to men, because if we can overcome, or as much as possible exercise that cognitive brain, our prefrontal, when it comes to women, the more we can get that clicking in, the more we practice it, like going to the gym and doing one exercise over and over and over again, it becomes a reflex the more you do it. That's what I hope, logic would tell you. And it's worked with me. The more obsessively interested I've become philosophically with all this stuff, it's actually helped me when I've been in front of a woman. It really has, guys. So, take of that what you will. Okay, let me go back to some of the questions. I think that women generally are so unsatisfied and unhappy, and the cliche woman nags, she's never happy. They don't communicate well because they're afraid. They don't want to be judged. So they passively communicate, and they don't say what they mean. And, you've heard women that, what's wrong? Nothing. Or if you ask them, can you explain it to me? Well, if you don't know, I'm not going to explain it to you, as though you're stupid. Women aren't great communicators. People say that women are great communicators. They're not. They just talk a lot. I can talk. I can speak. Listen to me on my live streams. Wet Palette Warrior. An unhappy woman is a selfish woman. It's all about her solipsism. To be a man attached to an unhappy woman is like trying to constantly fill a colander with water. A good analogy. I don't know if there's an afterlife. Spinning Wheels 2134, and it doesn't freak me out. I've got the kind of brain, if I don't know or if I can't fix or adjust something, I let it go, because I don't like feeling stressed. I've just got that thing. I'd rather feel comfortable than stressed. If I can't do anything about it, I just cut it loose. I've got that mechanism in me. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Like in the past when I've been really heartbroken, or when my father died and things like that. Sometimes you can't help it, but most of the time I've got that control freak side of me. Derek, thank you very much for the super chat. He said the married ones are just as miserable, trust me. Well, yeah. Like I said, sometimes I think the smart, more well-adjusted, mature men and women got together earlier, but the majority of us who are naive, who are influenced by this dumb and crazy society that forces us to always be more and more like children, makes it harder and harder. We get used to our single lives. We get older. It becomes harder and harder. So even if there's decent ones, it becomes very hard because you become a very narrow, specific person. Venom Eagle says, I do think that we talk about women because we care. Smart men recognize that there is something in women that we desire. So to see what is happening to the modern woman is pretty bloody sad. It is, but I think if you've been lied to and taken advantage of, and then by the other person's reaction, I'm talking about if you've been loved and heartbroken, it really looks like they don't care. And when you talk to them, they don't act like they care. And when they get into another serious relationship so quickly, it's like they don't care. But only you can be the judge, really. But I don't actually, like, I'm not doing this because I care about women. I care about myself. And by extension, I hope I can help other guys and to get them to care about themselves. And if they find someone they get along with, and you can have a conversation with someone else who's open to having a conversation, and you can force them to talk and be in reality, not this commercial modern haze of we feel, we don't talk, it's just intuitive, we don't have to communicate, it's just when you know. It's like, no, you have to be tough with yourself, and then when you go out there, you're tough in conversation, and you make a really conscious, clear, discerning decision with the people you let into your life intimately, and those you just kind of let glide by on the surface, and you only give small pockets of time. Yeah, sure. I mean, I wish the best for women, in a distal way, but I'm very concerned about my proximal, intimate life, who I am, and the people I let into my life, and who I care about, and who I can see care about me. Not that I do this, and I hope she cares about me. She's hot, and I can somewhat get along with her, but like, I hope things work out. It's like, I don't want that anymore. I don't want my fingers crossed, and I'm sure a lot of you guys don't want that either. Carl, thank you for the super chat. His comment is simple question to ask, and yet says so much. What do you value more, equality or freedom? If she says equality, kick her to the curb and run. Yes, exactly. Well said, Carl. What do you want, equality or freedom? Because freedom has responsibilities. Like, you can be free, but you're free to do what you want with the responsibilities that are attached to it. I can kind of, more than free, I can say I'm autonomous, right? I can do anything I want, but then if I want to make videos, it's the responsibility of the time I make, and the time I don't give to other things, the effort I put in. So it's not like I just sit here and sleep and my videos get made, or thinking gets done, or writing gets done, or music gets made, or friends get spoken to and visited. With freedom comes a lot of work, but it's work you want to do. It's autonomous, free work that gives back to you. But a lot of women, especially, and also guys these days that are very nihilistic, they just want complete nihilistic freedom where they do, say, think. They don't do anything. They don't cultivate their friendships. They don't tend to any kind of garden, personal or external, with friends and connections between other people or hobbies. They don't maintain any relationship with themselves or things or people. I think people these days have a very, very lazy vision of freedom. Freedom isn't other people telling you what to do. That's what freedom is. It's not you sitting back and you just keep winning the lottery every day somehow by doing nothing, by being half asleep. That's more a female point of view. That's what they've been sold. So yeah, equality or freedom, pick one. Equality is kind of like a passive neutrality to me. Freedom is an individual, autonomous kind of grab it by the handles, grab your own handles and live your own life the way you want. Yeah, this is a good comment by Silas950. He says, don't you think it's only when women have sons that they understand the struggles we face? I've noticed that when I've been to barbecues and events where my friends' wives, they start being sympathetic to men or understanding, I've heard one or two women say, I'm not worried about my daughters. They're going to be fine. I'm worried about my sons in today's world. And then they start talking about everything we talk about. And then internally I'm going, okay. Has to be about you to understand, yeah? The only way that they can appear to have empathy is to have a subjective view of things. It's kind of like my son. Oh, now I get it because it's about me. Web Palette Warrior says, men find purpose in fixing broken things, so you see men attempt to repair broken women, but the payoff is never comes. That's very correct. I should have mentioned that too. That's a very good point. Men love fixing things, even in conversation. You know, you always hear, especially in PUA circles and social dynamics, where they say when a woman is having a problem, a man's instinct is to fix it. But you just need to let her talk. She wants you to listen. And it's very hard. It's kind of like if my car's broken down, I just don't look at it inert. I want it to move forward. I want life to be better. But it's a very peculiar thing when you're around a lot of women that they just want to emote. They want to complain. They don't want you to interject with turning the dial so everything's good, so they can stop talking. They want to keep talking and complaining. I think that's the reason why they obsessively love watching reality TV where people's lives fall apart. They don't want to they get titillated by chaos, drama, pain, suffering. Whether it's theirs, not so much maybe, but watching others, they get off on it. I don't. When I watch tension, I can't watch reality TV. I can't. When I see those moments of embarrassment, I get the hairs stand up on the back of my neck and I can't watch it. I have to turn away. Women set their clocks to watch those shows, so it's very different. Just be aware how different women react and what they want. You know, what embarrasses us as guys, or what we don't really even want to look at in life. They're obsessive about it. They'll lay down money for it. Yeah, men want to fix broken things. Men find that interesting. Men find fixing and doing very interesting, cognitively, therapeutically, and afterwards we feel a sense of achievement and look how I made her feel happy. Look how I protected her. Look how I look at her, and then thus look, I have a happy woman in my life. She was happy and now she was unhappy. Now she's happy. That was me. I bought her stuff. I took her out. Whatever. It's like, that's why it's all about you guys. It's not so much about women. What was mentioned previously. Yeah, I really agree. And my channel is largely made to get guys thinking about themselves and their relationship to the world and their environment differently. Yeah, you talk about women and stuff, but it's not about women. It's about you. Everything's about you and how you relate to it. Neville, thank you very much for the super chat. He asks, why do most men let their wives run them? Good question. Could be a lot of answers. Sometimes it's like the mummy complex. What you didn't get from your mother, you might have been treated badly by your mother and you're repeating the same patterns. A lot of it stems from childhood. So I'd say a vast majority of it, I'd say 80%, I'm sort of naively guessing from my experience when I talk to other guys, when I ask about their childhood. I mean, it's not the one size fits all answer, but if you look at a lot of guys, when you look at them, when they're very, very wimpy and they say yes to everything, you can see that they're a normal guy, but when it comes to women in their lives, they can't say no, they can't speak up, they become another person, they switch back into childhood mode, whether they were dominated by a mother, or in the case of one of my good friends, his mother left him. And so his mother didn't really spend a lot of time treating him badly, but the absence of the mother can affect a guy in a way that he's chasing what was absent his whole life. So he becomes very, very obsequious around women. He's a doormat. So I'd say the majority of it stems from childhood, what you were given, if you're abused psychologically especially and dominated by a mother, or if you're abandoned. So either way, a man cowers or keeps chasing or excuses or keeps taking what he's given, he keeps taking the abuse that no other man would normally take, and he can't understand why he can't say no to women. So I think childhood has a big aspect to it. Ray Boat says, isn't a happy woman about as common as fairy dust? Black Magic 1087 says, women are too comfortable with men embodying too many social roles when they're in a relationship. When you don't reflect one of those roles, they interpret it as a flaw. Yeah, if you're not doing your job right, performance review. You need to do better. You're getting your pay doxed. Mr. Highway says, do you think it's impossible to not develop feelings for a woman that you see all the time? There is a barista I've been seeing daily for years. Sometimes I think about her when I'm not in the shop. Probably. Only you can answer that, man. It's also, like, I've thought about that sometimes too. It's very refreshing when you meet a personality that's really interesting to talk to and spend time with. And and then you kind of realize it's not a guy. And it's kind of surprising. And then your primitive brain kind of goes, well, if it's a girl, it only means one thing, dude. And sometimes it's like, well, I don't really think about it that way. And especially in today's times, it's not kind of primitive survival as it once was. It's a good question to ask, especially if you've done a lot of introspection. You know what you don't want. You value some closeness of a female, but not necessarily physical. I don't know. But it's a good question. Praying for the asteroid. Hey, bud, here's a nice pair of glasses with a matte variant I've seen opening up. Maybe it's your style. Okay. I'll have a look at that if I can remember the link. I'll go back. I don't want to paint an arm and a leg. I don't use these. I only use these for reading, and I treat them like I throw them around a fair bit. That's why I bought 3 pairs. I just like this plain classic style. But I just like the pair that aren't as shiny. They're a matte finish in black, and that's all I like. Ted1777 says, what is your view of the word SIMP and men who are SIMPing for certain women? I don't like that whole alpha, beta, all those kind of cliche, clickbaity words. It starts to resemble a video game when you see a lot of guys constantly using that language through almost every sentence. And it gets you talking about it like it's not real. It's talking about it in a very memey, clickbaity, gotcha kind of way. Whereas if you can use normal personal language, like it's in a conversation, and not resort to those meme type words, I think you can get further along in sort of addressing problems. I'm not a big fan of them. Mr. Highway, thank you very much for the super chat. Yeah, hit the like button, fellas. Subscribe, it's free. Helps me out. It's always really unpredictable with YouTube when you get my videos, if you get them, when they unsubscribe you, whether a certain video is popular or not. Like in the last couple of weeks, there's been certain videos that I thought would be popular, and they've tanked compared to my other ones, and other ones where I think they're nothing, they do okay. So I have no idea. So I just kind of keep making videos that I think are going to be interesting and that I want to talk about. So the more you guys can share the stuff around, help me out. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button. Milchi7 says, how do you figure out if it's better to keep quiet about certain topics like marriage, MGTOW, when meeting new people? Marriage is kind of universal, but I would probably avoid, very, very narrow, specific topics like MGTOW. Again, like saying words like SIMP and things like that. It's because if you're not sure if the person is familiar with the language and the sort of what it embodies, they can talk about it civilly and maturely, and they know what forever alone is, or whatever it might be, or what's the word? It escapes me at the moment. INCEL and things like that, then you can actually have a civil conversation with the person using those phrases. But if you kind of use them like, I think people look at you like a conspiracy theory nut because they don't know much about the topic. It's like just having a casual conversation about communism now. It's all of a sudden, whoa, okay, are we putting on our tinfoil hats now? So just I think it depends on the person you're talking to. You've got to sort of dip your toe and see from what reference point you can talk to them. If they're intelligent, then you can use those terms, and more likely you can have a better conversation. J. Paul, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm grateful. Thank you. Make sure you highlight your questions, guys, with emojis. Make them stand out. I'm going through the feed because we've got how many we got? We've got a few hundred people. We've got nearly 300 people on at the moment, and so I'm trying to get through as quickly as possible. When I see comments highlighted with emojis, I know that's a question, and then I'll zero in on that. So I'm not intentionally ignoring your questions, guys, but if they just look like they're comments that you guys are talking to each other through, I'm not going to kind of go through every single comment. Otherwise, the chat jumps, it refreshes, and then I miss a whole bunch of people who've asked questions. Chinese or Japanese name to their avatar. I'm not sure how to say it. He says, an ex I was with clinically depressed was really happy to be with me because I was on the outside of her sadness. Okay, so everything about you had nothing to do with what she was sad about. So she wasn't just generally sad about everything. Months after we got together, I was no longer the happiness from the outside. Okay. Yeah, you're a holiday again. You're interesting. You made her pause and be distracted from her unhappiness. Yeah, this is the thing I was saying, whether it's an unhappy woman or a woman that's actually just mirroring you and treating you like a really refreshing holiday. They don't have the introspective sort of a discernment to kind of go, I'm on holiday, this person's interesting, but it doesn't really feel like home. Whereas with me, maybe because I'm interested in this stuff, I've had a lot of failed long-term relationships, and I'm a long-term kind of person. I don't get off on the short term. I know what works for me more and more as I get older. And so with me, very quickly, if they're not my lifestyle, if they're not my ethic and moral person, then they're a friend, they're an acquaintance, or they're history. Grey Matters, thank you very much for the super chat. His question is, I tried to fix a partner who had many of the traits you were describing. It became consuming and then takes down two people instead of one. Yes, that's very important. It sort of destroys two people and not just one person. I think you need to know when to throw in the towel for your own sake. Exactly true. Exactly true. I threw in the towel on my last relationship as well like that. I tried and tried, but also recognized I'd be here for, months or possibly another year, squeezing every drop out of me, and I would feel so destroyed and depleted and what my life would be, because I've been in a similar situation in the past. And I basically threw in the towel a lot earlier than I usually do. Family members would say I should have thrown it in, 6 months prior or 7 months prior. But again, it's one of those things when you're in it. I mean, if you're in love and you value and care for the person, it's easy for people on the outside to go, yeah, just get rid of them, dude. But when you're in it, you need to make sure in your own mind that you've done everything you can, looked at it from every angle, tried everything, openly expressed everything, not kept it in, tried, and then you can sleep at night later on. So when I look back, it might have been painful, but there's not the regret. I don't have a regret, because some people might say, I stayed too long, but then what happens with the other person that kind of, you think they're kind of alpha guys, like at the first sign, they cut it loose. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night because maybe it was something I misread. But for me, if it happens over and over again, you talk about it, you try and fix it, it's never going anywhere, then you're certain of what it is. There's no vagueness about what your movie, what movie you're living in with this person, and it's not your movie. But if you just cut it loose, and later on it was like, oh, it was just a she was feeling bad about work, or that was just momentary. It didn't happen over and over again, and we didn't talk about it. But if you don't talk, you just blow up and cut it loose, you might be proud and show off to other guys and say, like, you can be ridiculously binary and strict in your morals and ethics, but then again, are you like that? The moment you do something bad and a woman gets rid of you, it's like, oh, well, she has no sympathy. She didn't talk to me. Well, if you're the same way, you can't kind of applaud that ridiculous standard. So for me, I need to be 100% sure so I can sleep at night and I don't have any regrets afterwards. But yeah, you got to know when to throw in the towel, and hopefully the better you get with this stuff, the more you practice this stuff, the more you better yourself in terms of your ethics and how you speak them and how you act upon them, and you're never fearful of saying what you think and feel, civilly and respectfully, mind you. I'm not saying be rude. Then you can always be bluntly realistic with your language and your thoughts with everybody. And it's not that you're rude, but people will trust you more too. And when you're with a person, I would say that they'll appreciate that they can always trust what you say might not necessarily be the answer they want, but they always trust that you're not going to lie to them, or you're going to lie to them very, very little, because you value honesty, realness. You're tired of all the game playing of the past. Freedom of thought. Hi. What are your thoughts on inconsistent women? Usually in today's culture, the majority of women are inconsistent. They love change so much, yet at the same time they want security from a man. So this is this is the mental institution they live in. They want two opposing forces really, really a lot. It's like, I want unpredictable surprises and fun, but I want a secure man who will commit to me. A sensible, reliable man who lives in accordance with reality cannot commit to something so unpredictable, so stochastic, as a woman who loves change so much. This is the thing. So if you're a guy, like, the more you're alone, you live predictably, you've got your routines. But then you kind of you get with the female human animal, and most of them love change, variety, surprises, different things. They won't even eat their favorite food. A lot of them. You go out, and they'll always want to try something new, and they'll get on your back for eating the same meal or having the same kind of coffee, or buying the same white t-shirt or something. It's like, why don't you buy something different? You always do this. And it's like, leave me alone. You know, most guys think, wouldn't it be comforting, lady, knowing that I don't change? You can rely on me always having a white t-shirt and always drinking coffee and always having pasta or whatever. Like, I'm rock solid. And that predictability would put your mind at ease. You can feel secure with me. But if I'm like you, and like, you can never know what I want, but at the same time, like, he doesn't make me feel secure, it's just stupid. I think a lot of women talk about what they want, but it's not really who they are. They love unpredictability, the surprises. Again, look at the TV shows they love and they're addicted to. They love chaos. And on top of that, they don't want to self-reflect to see who they are. So it's like a child who wants to act like a brat, and they're always taken care of, or guys always ask them out, or society is a pillow for them to fall on no matter what they do. They can never do any wrong, so they never have to self-reflect. Genesis X, damn it, I'm 23 and I feel like I just wasted my time and resources on a 31-year-old woman who just wanted a thrill. Well, yeah. I mean, listen to that inner voice, man. It's fun. And I think a lot of older women, and similarly, I mean, when there's such a massive disparity between age, it's more so with a woman, because most women, they don't feel good when they've got like a 20-year-old younger guy. They just feel like mummy. They might kind of feel within themselves and competitively with other women like, look at this, ladies, I've still got it. I can still get a young guy, i.e. I can compete with 20-year-old women because I can get 20-year-old men. But deep down, she knows that it looks odd. She's dragging around her almost like her child, like her son. So it's very, very sleazy and awkward. Whereas with a guy just wants beauty and fertility, and young is always better. His instinct doesn't get embarrassed. Yeah, getting younger means I've still got it, but because guys are human doings, we want to be able to do it for as long as possible, because without the doing, we feel useless to ourselves. So if we can still do young, we still feel like we've got purpose. Yeah, younger is prettier. And yeah, Christ help you if you're a guy my age and you want kids, and that's why you get with a young girl, but then you have to deal with a young personality. But I think going out with younger women from the beginning of the time has never been much of a problem with a guy if he can get along with a young girl. Because as long as you can get along with her, it's fine. But women try and, I think, lie to themselves where they think they can have a serious relationship with a young guy. Yeah, you can sleep around, but when they don't take into consideration the personality and whether or not you got the same values and lifestyle, guys who get a simple, nice young girl, they don't need much more. As long as they can get around along with her, she doesn't give him headaches, and she's young and pretty, they can have a good life. But if a woman gets with a very young guy, she's got the social pressure. She can deny it, but she doesn't like being judged by and the backstabbing and cattiness of her girlfriends. It's like, oh, that just looks really wrong. She's going out with like such a young guy. That's really, and that's the kind of stuff women don't want to admit to themselves in their social sphere. They get very affected by it. They don't like that shame. Guys don't get shamed by young women. Guys actually feel proud of going out with someone younger. She's not only a prize, but if he personally gets along with a younger girl, sweet. Until there's a problem, there's no problem. But with a much younger guy, an older cougar, kind of, she has to kind of do a lot of mental gymnastics to stay there. And she never actually believes, because of youth, because women know that men like young, she always believes that he's going to leave her for a younger model because she's getting older. By the time he's in his 30s, she's going to be in her 50s or 60s. So a woman knows that. Whereas an older guy, he knows that a younger woman, if she stays with him and likes him being a older guy, if that's what she likes, she's probably not going to likely leave him for a 20-year-old, a younger model later on, if that kind of makes sense. So again, just like men and women think differently in terms of like relating and what they desire in life, it's the same with interpersonally, like young versus old. We think about things very differently. The dynamic isn't the same both ways. Venom Eagle, men cannot communicate to women thinking that they are men. Simple. Yes. Neville, thank you for the super chatty thing. So I think most men value sex over respect. Agree? Yes. The way they act. I think as you get older, if you can start to really exercise the muscle of respect, values and ethics, you'll do yourself well. And also it's really cathartic, the more you can, for the first time and over again, when you're in front of a girl, say you go on the first date, really honestly express what's on your mind, nicely, but whenever the subjects arise about relationships, you start talking about dating and stuff, don't start talking about MGTOW and male and female nature like you're trying to really, twist her arm or something, but really be honest about what you think, what you've learned, and what you will and won't put up with. Like, that's when life will be better for you. Don't just try and make her happy. Make yourself happy while you're with her. And if she likes being with you, I'd say that's probably the best bet. A lot of great questions, guys, and I haven't even gotten into showing on screen some of the great comments from the couple of recent videos too. Black Magic 1087 says, did you experience a woman demanding odd requests for affection, qualification, like demanding you recite poetry or romance puzzles games? Nah. I've never done that. I think that I'm so kind of open in how I express my thoughts that I think a lot of women find it odd trying to figure me out, that I tell them what I think. They know my... I think those things might come from guys where they're not quite sure who the guy is, or if a guy doesn't say much or is very vague, so they need more proof. With me, I don't think women needed more proof. I think they just tried to twist me more into being the guy they wanted me to be. That's what I always felt. Carl, can you address the super chats sent? I think I have. I'm just catching up to them, Carl. If I've missed any super chats, please, guys, put some emojis, like the YouTube emojis before and after your question, so I can see them, or something very bright. Oh, okay. Now the chats have jumped, so I might have missed a few. I'm going to keep going really quickly. Spinning Wheels 2134, human, do you think there is an afterlife and this is it? Blah, 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 don't know. So yeah, guys, I might have missed a couple of super chats because I can't scroll any further up. The chats won't let me because... yeah, we've got about over 300 people on at the moment. I'm trying to get through all the questions. That's why I'm speaking so quickly. But trying to answer the questions too. Venom Eagle, what is it in a bachelor that makes him resilient and at home during a period of temporal chaos and danger, which is that specifically this type of man thrives in this zone? It's because that's where he's anchored at the moment. But when you're with the wrong woman, she pulls you to another place and you're anchored. You're basically a ship at a port that's not for you. You're only temporarily there. A man should know where his home is and always be anchored to that point. That's why you can stay resilient. The moment you start to kind of pull up roots and go, no, I'm going to live over in this part of the world with this woman, figuratively speaking, know where home is for you. Don't pick a place to call home that is only a holiday for you, gentlemen. Red sings the blues. Hey man, his super chat comment is, I did date an unhappy woman and it was a really bad time. Yeah. And I think I'm speculating a lot of women they're unhappy because they don't self-reflect. They just kind of float around trying to feel good, and they don't kind of choose. They don't make good choices with men. And I'm not saying you or I are bad men, but they don't kind of try and pick a man that's in line with them and their nature and their lifestyles and their virtues and values. So they're unhappy because they don't like where they are. Effectively, again, trying to live on holiday, and they can't understand why they don't feel comfortable there, because that was only a stopover for them. That was only a shopping trip. So I think a lot of guys are with unhappy women because the dynamic is unhappy. There's two very different people who are unhappy with this type of person. You really need to find the match for each other. Women aren't going to do it. They kind of float around. They'll see if you're the kind of guy that speaks in a certain way, that has their sort of humor, and he does stuff the way they like, and that's about it. Whereas it's up to guys to read between the lines and say, do I like the routines? Do I like her values? Is she mean to people? Does she have a temper? What does this mean? her impatience here, I can see how that translates to possibly being with her long term. She's not going to support me when I need her. So men really look at those things. So it's up to us to recognize when a woman is relationship material, or she's at arm's length and she's not good for much at all other than friendship, if you choose to. You know, how much can you trust her? Neville Good. Guys, human can't see the super chats tonight. I can, but I think it's jumped and I've missed a few of them. So I'm trying, guys. I'm going through. If I haven't answered any of your super chats, be patient or repeat them and put some, use the YouTube emojis before and after, and that'll let me know that you guys are repeating a comment that I didn't get to. The Whoosh One Nike, thank you for his super chat. He says, whenever going through something in life, whenever that may be, always ask yourself, how am I insufficient and how can I rectify that? That's right. Learn from your experiences, especially not just the good ones, so you can accumulate more and more of them going forward and know how to get them more and more, but also how you never want to experience the bad ones too. Learn so you never travel down that road as well. Boffin, he says, hit the thumbs up button, guys. Yes. Subscribe. Venom Eagle, thank you for the super chat. He says, you bring reason and understanding towards the responsibility of the decisions that us young men will be undertaking in the near future. Thank you for your thoughts and thank you for your time, human. Thanks, Venom Eagle. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for all you guys for showing up as well, and liking, subscribing, watching my YouTube videos. Share them around on your social media. Help me out as much as possible. So there's a reason for me to stay around on my channel and keep producing videos. Hey, Vention, how you going, man? I know you've been going through some tough times lately. I hope things are better than they were. Carl says, we need more collabs with you and Quasi, Thinking Apes, Stardust, Ronin Man, and even Better Bachelor. I'm happy to talk with anyone. All those guys, I think they're cool. And some of them I actually have talked to and I respect them because I've spoken to them firsthand too. But like I've said before, most of the guys in the manosphere who produce YouTube content, I don't have a problem with any of them. Some of them make content that's not for me, but I can recognize it's their medicine for a particular guy in a particular place. Some guys make the medicine that a young guy needs right after he's sort of had his heart broken and he just doesn't understand women at all. Other guys need different kind of medicine. Like for instance, the guys that are really into Stardust may not find my cup of tea very interesting. I'm fairly normie compared to their very I'd say Stardust's audience is a much more academic, if I can use that broadly, whereas mine's more conversational. Mine's more sort of pedestrian. Billy says, what's your thoughts of LDR relationship? No idea what LDR is. Sorry. Roy says, human, can you do a talk about a match for everyone? It's kind of just you knowing yourself more, then you're more likely to find a match for yourself. There's no blueprint. It's not like I can't sort of say plug in these values. Just look for someone who makes you feel more comfortable. Look for familiarity in a person, someone you get along with very, very easily without any effort, like you do your friends. You're not looking for a template to make friends. You kind of know what a friend feels like, so trust that instinct. That's all I can suggest. Don't be passive. Venom Eagle, coffee in the morning, whiskey in the arvo. Yeah, Vention says they tell themselves a story and try to live in that story. Women have a propensity to do that. I'm convinced that the majority of women, they can lie to themselves easily because they do live in their own story, their own narrative, whereas a man, he actually doesn't feel comfortable living in that story unless it's kind of realistic. If you can walk, talk, and touch it in real life, it has to make practical sense. With a woman, it doesn't need to make practical sense. She can live with it here and force it upon her friends and family and lovers and things like that, and chuck a fit if the narrative doesn't match what she wants and creates in her head. I think with guys, more and more, very early on, you realize that you might have a narrative in your life, but you've got to make it happen. Whereas with women, it's kind of like, I just want the narrative to happen and I'm going to kick and scream until I get my way. Nikos says, why are women so addicted to social media? I don't know exactly why, but I think it reflects a lot of their nature, the cattiness. It's sort of a lot of that schoolyard stuff that women were involved in, and it gives them more anonymity to be the bad girl. You know, before you could only be the alpha chick who sort of treated other women bad, and all other women were invisible. But now every woman can pretend to be anyone she wants with the anonymity of social media. Just the word social should tell you it all. I think men care less about the social as wanting it, as women just live in the social. Men can live with stuff, projects, hobbies, and then within those have a social aspect between guys. We're into cars, we're into hiking, we're into whatever. We have to do something to show something to each other, to interact with each other. But with women, the social is just enough. Whereas with guys, it's like, okay, what are we going to do in the social? I can't just sit there listening to the chit chat and what Nancy said about Becky. Like, I don't care. I can't sit around with friends just listening to what Brad said to John, said to Eric. And Nikos says, every time I'm out, I see women staring at their phones. Yeah, everyone does these days. Shima, thank you for the super chat. He or she, or I'm not sure, says, I'm a 20-year-old female. Okay, she, viewer, and I find this side of YouTube interesting. Have a great night, gentlemen. Thank you, Shima. Ken says, hey, human, I think of a woman as a cat. You don't pat a cat because the cat likes it. You do because you enjoy it. If you enjoy it, she's purring. If not, she says no. Okay. Hydrostatic says, who keeps asking these afterlife questions? Human is human, not God, people. Piers, thank you very much for the super chat. Your message was retracted. I'm not sure if you did that or YouTube did it. Maybe there were words in it. So I got your super chat, Piers, but there was no message. So please repeat it and just kind of obscure the bad words if YouTube actually did retract your question. Because that's maybe what happens too. YouTube might not be allowing some of your super chats through if you've written words down in your message that they don't like. Healthy Quadrant. What is the best litmus test for verifying that she became the problem in the relationship and it wasn't oneself? Communication. When you notice something wrong, talk about it. And if she's always avoidant and vague, and she never does, and whenever you ask if something's wrong, it's always nothing, but you know it is. Yeah. A lot of times people kind of know what the problem is. Your instincts will tell you. Don't shy away from your feelings, guys. If your feelings are objectively telling you something's wrong, because with your friends and family, you get along, everything's calm, everyone's on the same page, everyone talks, but the partner you're with, everything's vague, everything's different, everything's opposite. You don't want to feel the most uncomfortable with your romantic partner. That's the way I see it. If I'm going to spend the most time with this person, I want it at least to feel like I do with family and friends. Yeah, I know because you spend most of the time with this person, there are going to be more challenges sometimes, but overall, the vibe has to feel like the other valued relationships in your life. I don't know how this issue with women is going to be fixed. Basically, there's too much candy they're being fed. I mean, how are you going to take the keys to the castle away from them? Media, like the whole society in terms of economic spending, is lubricated by women. Men don't spend as frequently as much as women do. So, unless the money runs out, things aren't going to change. Sean says LDR is long distance relationships. Okay, that's what LDR is. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry, I forgot what the question relating to LDR was. Carl says, how would you address men's movement towards more of a nihilistic mindset, counterbalanced with a woman's culture of fear and anger today? Can the two meet? Yeah, but maybe in an unhealthy way. Why would two nihilists care to be with each other unless there's familiarity? And that's not always a good thing. You get together with someone who's very negative and dark. It's kind of like, we don't care about anything. Like, yeah, I'm with you. We're similar. We're so alike. But then why even bother? There's someone with the moniker of men growing their own beard. He says, human. What do you think about peers who enable bad behavior in context of women? Need for drama, lack of self-awareness, and unsustainable, ever-changing desires as source of unhappiness. Yeah, if she's got bad friends, that's a good sign of you better be skeptical and keep your eyes open. If a woman's best friends are drama queens, they have a lot of chaos, they're catty, and if they're her best friends and you could see she has fun around them, and why would she have them as best friends anyway? Yeah, be very cautious. I don't know, really, generally. Southern Soul, there's only 39 likes, guys. Come on, hit the like button. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, guys. Do us a favor and subscribe to my channel if you already haven't. Bradle says, even with gained knowledge of female nature, how do you apply non-narcissistic self-reference to managing conflict in a relationship? Making a strong point can be really backfire on you. No, I disagree. don't manage, don't tolerate bad relationships. If you can't be yourself, think about this, the way your friends and family know where you're coming from, understand you, and don't get offended at everything you say, especially if you're talking about an idea. You're not pointing a finger at them and saying you're an idiot, but you're saying, this is how I feel, this is what I see, what do you think? There's ways of expressing. But if they take offense to everything you say, you're not around the right person. So if you can talk about these issues with everyone else that's important in your life, but you can't with her, you don't need to manage it. You can try a bit, but you need to acknowledge also when you're with someone you can't be with. Don't tolerate a relationship. Don't simply manage a bad situation, no matter how much you like the person. That's what I'd say. Pierre's, thank you for the super chat. He said, a friend of mine lost his lady kid then job. He started to deal in narcotics. I was wondering how to handle the desperation phase. Desperation as in him? All you can do is be a friend to listen to. Don't get pulled into his stuff, but also, I'm not sure if you're talking about handling the desperation phase of you. You're desperate in not knowing how to help him, or he's feeling desperate and what you can tell him to help him. I'm not sure what you mean there. Boffin. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys kind of helping me, trying to tell guys to hit the like button. He says 120 guys watching right now, too lazy to hit the thumbs up button. Thanks, Boffin. Yeah, guys, come on, just hit the like button. If you're listening to this and enjoying the chat, just hit the like. It's just like a millisecond, and it helps me out. I'd appreciate it. It's free. Paper Arrows, your thoughts on women hijacking fictional or male role models? I can't stand it, but it's the culture trying to placate women. Women like to dominate. They want to intrude everywhere. They've already gotten rid of smoking lounges. Like, we want to be in here, or we want to get rid of it. Men can't have anything. Men can't have toys just for themselves. Why aren't there more women in STEM? We don't care if we don't want to be in STEM, but we want to be in there as much as possible. Phil says, will dating apps ever get better for guys or continue to be skewed towards women? I think they'll continue to be skewed towards women, like everything today is skewed towards women. There's very few things that are skewed towards men because you can't make much money out of men. You can only make a lot of money out of top tier men. Actually, you can make a lot of money out of men generally, but you can't get men to spend as much. The spending side of our economy is really dominated by women. So marketing is catered to them. You want to buy, you want people to buy, you market towards women. Whether men are married, the buying decisions are, most of the frequency of buying is done through women. Whether you're single, most of the frequency of buying is done through women. Kids, spending on kids, most of it's done through women because they've got the kids. So as that guy from World War II who had the little mustache said, get the women and you get all of society. You don't have to worry about getting the men or the elderly or the children or whatever. Get women, you get everyone. So the think tanks know what they're doing. Guy with the Asian Monica says, isn't it strange that we're supposed to communicate with our partner, but she gets upset when we talk about certain topics? Yeah, isn't that interesting? Such as other women being attracted, prenup, her body mass index, etc. Yeah, this is the thing, guys. Pay attention to where you feel good in life. You can talk to your friends and family about anything and they don't take it personally, unless you're attacking them personally, by which case you know and they know. But if I can't be as open with my partner that I spend all my time with, hit the road. I want to be comfortable in my life. And if I'm going to be with you in my life now, spend most of my time with you, I want that sense of comfort. If I can't be comfortable, I'm not going to be with you. I do that with work. I work in an environment where I like the people I work with. I'm with family and friends that I like being around. I'm not just going to pick a pretty dream-killing psycho to make the rest of and the majority of my intimate life waking up, coming home to an app. Like, I don't want, like, even my job is great. I don't want to be coming from that job, going home to someone that resembles a bad job. Pick better people. We have to, guys. It's up to you. Pick better people. Throw bad women back in the ocean. Let the sharks have them. Rodriguez says, Human, how do you draw the line between an unhappy woman and one who has legitimate sadness about unfortunate life events? That's different. Everyone has unfortunate life events. But if they're traumatized to an extent where it's always evident, like they can't get over it, they're always unhappy, then you have to ask yourself, what can you live with? If this person just kind of, when something reminds them of, their mother that passed away, that's natural. They're going to lament that and they're going to feel a soft spot. But that's nice. They cared about the person. That can often be a good sign. But if a person's always unhappy and nothing makes them happy, nothing lifts them up, can you live in that low-level state that you're going to be forced to be dragged down to? And similarly, if you're a person that's kind of like a calm person, can you live in the heightened state of an extrovert that always wants to be out? And I can't date an extrovert party girl. I can't live on that level. So in the same way, can you be dragged down to an unhappy level? Be honest with what you can live with, where you two realistically can spend all of your time. If a person dips or peaks at very irregular times, that's different. Okay. Think of Boosted Pastime. Thank you for the super chat. He said, I recently had a 20-year-old talk about marriage. After just 2 weeks, I had to cut her off. Do they really think they can lock down one in 2 weeks? Yeah, a lot of these women, there's so much in terms of, I want everything. I know what I want. I don't care what anyone else wants. It's kind of like a guy going to a first date and being too overt that he's going to scare a woman off and saying, I want sex like this, I like doing this, I want threesomes, I want this on the very first date. And the person, even if they were amenable to some of them, will say, whoa, this person's a psycho. You need to have tact too. And also it can kind of come into these women who are very, very quick and they look, bottom line, if they scare you off, they scare you off. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel comfortable. But my whole thing is you have to be honest enough about speaking what's on your mind. If she says something that's, whoa, baby, too quick, I'm not ready yet, or you don't know, voice it, guys. I swear, just say it. So no matter what the person in front of you says, if they say something that puts up a red flag or makes you think like, whoa, I don't know, say, I don't know. Or laugh and say, I'm not ready for that yet, or maybe one day, but I'm not getting married until I know someone for 3 to 5 years and until I'm absolutely sure. Just be completely honest, like you're talking to your friend. Don't twist it so they don't leave. Learn how to speak, guys. Learn how to speak your thoughts, what you really value, the way you do around your friends. Too many guys worry about, they try and talk like a different person in front of women. Don't. I know you like her differently, but don't change your language. You can't start talking like someone else. Because you know what happens when you start talking like someone else romantically in front of women? Your vocabulary shrinks to like 1 or 2 pages, whereas the normal you that speaks openly with people, your breadth of thinking and your vocabulary is like, like a book. But when you get with a woman, it's kind of like your thinking and your vocabulary drops to like 1 or 2 pages and you can only talk around that. And you sound boring and vague and uninteresting because you're limiting who you are. Just speak as you. If they don't like you, F them. They can find another guy, and you can find potentially a better girl or a better person. It could do with friendships too. You know, we don't censor ourselves in friendships, and basically a woman that you want to spend a long-term relationship, or if you want to have kids or whatever, should be, you know, choose her based on a friend first and foremost, and a friend is someone you can just speak openly to. I'm talking very quick, guys, because I'm trying to get through your questions. Sorry, I talk fast, but I'm not normally Speedy Gonzalez. Yeah, Feral Male says, women want to be where the men are at, but don't need a man. Yeah, all the stuff men want in life that women think they can mimic to get to this place of freedom that they see men at, men still want women a lot. But women, they get to this place and they don't want men. It kind of tells you that they want men insofar as men can give them material stuff. So I think it's a good barometer of, if a woman's a materialistic, career-driven woman, you could tell she values. You can really tell what she values. Whereas a woman that really, you can tell in her day-to-day life, she might have tried to get married. She values family values and things like that. It's very, very different. So yeah, a lot of delusional women that they think that freedom exists in a male kind of way of living, even though they're female, and yet they want to have two lives. They want to act like a man, but they want to also have a traditional a woman's life too. They're tearing themselves apart in two different directions, and they're wondering why they're not happy. They're trying to be two different types of people, I think. Braddles, thank you very much for your super chat. I appreciate it. I think have I answered all the super chat questions at the moment, guys? If I haven't, please repeat them if I haven't, and bracket them with like 2 or 3 YouTube emojis on each end. Let's get to some of the questions, because we've been going for about an hour and a half now. Some of the comments in the last few videos. Stoic Monk in the video, men can't love empty women. That was, I think most of the, if not all of the comments today will be from that video. He says, not every little girl gets to do what they want. The world cannot support that many ballerinas. This is from Mad Men. That's a great line. And he also says, interestingly also, that most boys' fairy tales are solo journeys. I mentioned this in the video of mine, Men Can't Love Empty Women, where a man's heroic journeys, a guy grows, learns, achieves, faces fears, comes through the other end being a different person, and he moves forward in life. He says, interesting, most boys' fantasies are solo journeys. He's on his own, having to deal with this, and cognitively coming to terms with life and himself in this way on his own. Whereas a woman's fairy tales always involve a cast of characters that affirm her desires. There's the prince, there's the kingdom, there's all these people around her, there's stepsisters, there's all this kind of stuff. Whereas a man's journey is one guy that you place yourself in his position, and you're following him as a solo object through this, and the cast of characters are trials and tribulations that he goes through. Whereas a woman's fairy tales is this whole ensemble cast, like a soap opera. Very, very different. Zen says, for the video, Men Can't Love Empty Women, when you hold a female to any standard, you are quite often met with anger. When you completely ignore modern women, you notice that they do not like that either. Most women seem to be very unhappy and even angry most of the time. Meanwhile, the single guys I know and interact with are mentally relaxed, busy, successful, content. And I said to his comment, I said, because women are in a fight or flight mode constantly today. They've burnt the bridge of men, and you can't even ask women questions these days. They're so heightened in that fight or flight cortisol state. Everything to them seems to resemble a judgment, attack on them, and saying, there's a saying actually that you can't be curious and angry at the same time. Women aren't curious. They're not introspective. They're not philosophical. So they're always angry because they're always nervous. They're always in survival mode. So a lot of women are always angry because they can't be curious. They're not curious. You can't have a curious and interesting conversation with a lot of women, and as such, you can't relax with them. Morgie Orgie. I know it's not orgy, but I didn't want to say the word. About the video, Men Can't Love Empty Women. I'm on a dating site and sick and tired of being told on a first date, I refuse to be used for sex only. That statement alone is understandable, but the obvious follow-on question is, what other skills do you bring to a relationship that is important or useful to men? The moderators of the website felt that that question was too offensive and removed it. To avoid hearing crickets whilst trying to keep things light-hearted and playful, a few icebreakers I stole from Patrice O'Neill. Can you make a killer sandwich? Do you tell funny stories? Can you catch fish? Are you any good at Xbox? The responses usually vary from never. I would never lower myself on... I won't lower myself on some variation of that. It is heartbreaking to watch ladies realize that they can no longer blame men for only taking everything that they have to offer. Yeah, when a woman doesn't offer anything more than sex and you ask her, okay, what else are you good at? She can't tell you anything, especially she doesn't give you any Aristotelian values like if she's virtuous, kind, sympathetic, intelligent, warm, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's fairly telling, you know. You don't want to be a sex object, but, you know, what else are you? Tell me about you as a person philosophically. What are your values and virtues? Okay. 285719 crew, about the video Men Can't Love Empty Women that I did. He said, imagine a world where no one gives a damn how you feel. Imagine a world where you're assumed to be a piece of crap and where you're expected to toss all your wealth, growth and energy into someone who doesn't care much about you. Then shamed if you don't. Welcome to manhood. Yeah. What was that movie with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson where they're in the courtroom? Where no one will take Samuel L. Jackson's daughter seriously because she's an African American, and at the end he says something similar. Then he says, "Now imagine she's white." Yeah, this is the same thing. Snarg22 on the video Men Can't Love Empty Women. He says, society hates men and lies to women. At least for men, you know where you stand in society. And I responded to him, it shows you where female society is. There's a saying, I think that men pretend to hate each other, but we don't. But women pretend to like each other, but they don't. So, yeah, have a think about that one. Doug E says, men can't love him, for the video Men Can't Love Empty Women. He says, this is what happens when a child is never punished. Yeah, when society keeps men, and particularly women, mainly women, because men follow women, you know, what do women want? Men become that. So what they do is make women what they want women to be. So if they make women children, this is what happens when you don't punish a child ever, or nothing she ever does is wrong. And then, so this is what happens when a child is never punished, and then some. We've been spoiling them all this time without even realizing. I think we do realize, but a lot of people can't do anything, or we've pushed ourselves into a corner where there's very little we can do other than individually say no, live life without these trashy women or childish women. Mr. Highway, his comment was a really good one for the video Men Can't Love Empty Women. He says, women rarely experience the type of pain that men feel, the existential discomfort that pierces to your core. As a guy, yeah. Daily, life tells men what they must do. The alternative is catastrophe. When you drive by that hobo on the way to work, a man knows that it could be him. And this is the important bit. A woman sees it and thinks nothing of it. That's why they never grow. No pain, no gain. Yeah. Women are like the rich kid. They don't know the value of money. Everything's comfortable. Everyone wants them. Money's no object. It just grows on trees. It's a very, very different way of living. Charthers on the same video says their delusion is contagious. That's why men need to spend time alone. She can afford to be delusional. You cannot. That's correct. And a lot of men, their liberation and their freedom, you realize what it is, and you've developed your ethics, and you get the light bulb moments when you're alone. You can't afford to not know who you are as a man today, guys. Women can, because they get concessions. They get a soft pillow to land on. There is nothing beyond a man. If you don't care about yourself, you'll end up homeless. I think I've answered most of the super chats. Please let me know if I haven't, gentlemen. Obliv says, a few women I met from dating apps said, you're a great guy, but I just don't feel there's any spark between us. That just proved to me women want to live in the moment. Love is built over time. Yes, but also, and I'm not siding with them, that they just, it's the same with us. We should also trust our instinct when something's off. I think guys can be conscious. It's like, oh, she's a loudmouth, she's gregarious, I'm an introvert, she's an extrovert, her lifestyle's like this, whereas mine's like this. We can analyze and actually put words and descriptions on why it doesn't feel right. She's got a bad temper, whatever it is. I don't feel like she'd support me or have my back because of the way she talks or her attitudes about men, or she's childish. She wouldn't make a good mother. I want someone who's not a child. All that stuff. But with a woman, she just goes by her instinct. I think guys need to trust their instinct more as well. So I don't think there's anything wrong with her not feeling any sparks. But yeah, a lot of the time, if you're not entertaining her, if she's a show pony, do you really care that you're not with her anymore? Maybe it's, I think it's a blessing. If she doesn't feel any sparks with you, great. Why spend your time trying to make sparks where there's none? Why chase after something that doesn't find you interesting, or you her? Okay, I think I've caught up with all the comments on the stream. Let's go. I think I've got a couple more comments from the last videos. On the video by Men Can't Love Empty Women, Berg C says, modern women are artificial flowers demanding the best soil. I thought that was a nice bit of poetry. August Lyon on the same video said, to be fair, women think that they are special because that's what they are taught from birth. As soon as puberty hits, they get showered with attention from the opposite sex. How else should they perceive themselves after continuous adulation from society and today? And when they get to adults, marketing, the world, everything just keeps adding more and more attention and telling them they're special. So, as TFM would say, this train has no brakes. Well, I think I've caught up with all the questions. Have I answered all the super chat, guys? If I haven't, please add some emojis to repeat the question you asked in the super chat, and put the YouTube icon emojis next to it, so I know it's a question that I didn't answer in your super chat, please, because I hate not answering those, especially if you've donated something. And don't forget to hit the like button. It's free, guys. If you enjoy the video, it doesn't cost you anything. And subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell, because I think what YouTube does is, even if you're subscribed, if you rely on them notifying you, they want you interacting all the time. So if you're passively you got the bell icon on and you say, sweet, I'm set. So I'll just watch humans' videos when I'm notified. If all you're doing is watching, you're not interacting, you're not commenting, you're not liking, you're not doing any of that stuff, I think their system unsubscribes you because they want you interacting, pressing buttons. So just be mindful. That's probably a reason why you get unsubscribed, even though you know you were subscribed and you hit the notification bell. They want you interacting. So I'd say the people who aren't getting subscribed as often are leaving comments on the videos, hitting the like button, interacting a little bit. I wish you didn't have to. I wish you could just watch my videos and that's it. But unfortunately, I think that's why that happens. So I released another video. Oh, Shadow Ghost, thank you very much for the super chat. It's very generous. Thanks a lot. He says, have the best of times. It's the only time we have. Yeah, too right. Look, a lot of people, might believe in the afterlife, but really all you know for 100%, and I'm not saying, there could be afterlife. What do I know? But all you know 100% is you've got this right now. The life you're living, the people you interact with, the relationships you do and don't spend time in. So be conscious, guys. Be purposeful. Spec Ops, thank you very much for the super chat donation. Thanks for listening and watching. Yeah, guys, be more intentional. I know a lot of these sort of meme, glib kind of spiritual words that they've taken over in a lot of these hucksters and these charlatans online. But really, be intentional and conscious about where you're spending time. Always, we think anyway, like that's, sometimes we think too much and it can sort of really overwhelm us. But if you're going to think about who you're speaking to, think about the words you use, really listen to what someone's saying who's in front of you, and don't let things slide when you see red flags. Be as conscious in those moments in that way as you can be. Your life is going to be more fruitful, happier, more content, because you're exercising a conscious muscle all the time. It's like, I'm always present, I'm always listening, I'm always engaging. I'm not just letting them talk and I'm just going to repeat memes in a conversation because I want to be heard. You want to think about what you say with a person and you want to listen to what they say, so you can interact with another person, which is interacting in life. So yeah, be more conscious, guys, and if any of this stuff means anything to you, learn to speak and think it in your life and make it matter. Anyway, let's leave it there. I think we've been going for a while. It's an hour and 45 minutes. Cool. Short, sweet. I think I answered all the questions, got through all my comments from the last few videos on screen. I think I've answered most of the questions in the stream that I can see recently. And yeah, thanks for the regulars that always drop in. You guys know who you are. I appreciate it. And for the rest of you guys, drop into my Discord. There's always a bunch of guys there. Not always, but from time to time, depending on your time zone, people drop in. Obviously, I'm on the opposite end of the time zone to the United States, so I'll try and drop in late at night or early in the morning if you guys are late at night or early in the morning. But a lot of the guys, I encourage you from my channel and from these chats, you can continue talking to each other and having these conversations on my Discord. Keep it civil, don't be a spurg, and I'll talk to you later. All right, guys, catch ya. Bye.